enter my thing. Yeah. Okay. So um today Falcon 9. Yeah. We just had a go for fueling. So now they're fueling. Hopefully there are not going to be any lightning strikes in the area in a few minutes. Otherwise they have to delay again. So yeah, today we have the Falcon 9 taking its second heaviest payload into orbit, the Telstar 19, which launched a few months ago, a few weeks ago, was uh, even heavier. This satellite is 7 tons and 50 kilograms, 60 kilograms. Good morning from Poland. Good morning from the Netherlands here. And as you can see, I displayed my models behind me. This is the Delta 4 Falcon Heavy, GS LV Mark III, GS LV Mark II, and the mighty Saturn V. Yeah. So, yeah. Let's switch this. We are currently at 27 minutes. Good morning from the UK. It's just past 5 in the morning there. It's just a little over 6 in the morning here. So it was early getting up, but hey, I'm feeling okay. So we have the Falcon 9 Block 5, which actually one of the grid fins broke and I couldn't find the time to glue it back on, but hey. So we have what we gonna see today, if there are not any more delays, we are gonna see the spacecraft. Let me just put this in the correct order. Yeah, so we will see the Falcon 9 lift off, and then the 9 Merlin engines will ignite, and it will take the payload up to its altitude, drop it out, or drop the second stage off, and then hopefully touch down back in the ocean. But I know there are rough seas and it just froze. What is this? What is this sorcery? What did you do? Uh, I don't know what happened. Um, I'm frozen. Uh, Let me just activate it again. Yeah, okay. For some reason. So yeah, it will. These 9 Merlin engines will ignite, and then it will take it up at 1 minute and 19 seconds, or 1 minute and 7 seconds. It will have max Q, so that will be the maximum stress on the rocket. Just before that, it will throttle down, and it will that will reduce the stress on the rocket. It will throttle down and then go through max Q and go supersonic. That it will throttle back up, and then it will go till 2 minutes and 30 seconds, somewhere around it, 2.5 minutes. That will shut down. It will separate the second stage, and then it will flip over and then follow its ballistic arc, do its re-entry burn, and then hopefully its landing burn and touchdown on the drone ship in the Atlantic. But there are rough seas, and so it's not given that it will actually touch down. But hey, it's knowing SpaceX, they will put it off. And then just past 3 minutes. So, and then after second stage separation, it will the second stage engine will ignite. It will fly um, for about a minute, and then it will separate the fairing. So you will have the payload on here. I don't have the payload on it right now. Good morning. Good early morning for me. What? Focus, please. Yeah. So then we'll have the second stage. Will burn for about 8 minutes, about 8 minutes into flight, 8-9 minutes, and then it will shut down. It will be in a coast period for a while. It will go just. They wait till they're just over the coast of Africa, and then they will reignite it, and then they will deliver their payload into a geostationary transfer orbit, which is the first point's going to be about 36,000 kilometers away. So yeah, that's what in store for us today. Are we still go? You see, 23 minutes on the clock still. We're still counting down. Check my feed. Yeah, we're still go. Finally, after those delays, I got up at 4 and then had to wait. What is it? 2 more hours before I could go live. Hey, but I have coffee. I have the best mug. Yeah. Cheers. So this satellite is going to be the second heaviest, with just about 10 or 20 kilos lighter than the Telstar 19, which was 70 tons and 7 tons, 7,000 kilograms, and then it was how many kilograms more? Oh, there we have SpaceX. Let me just switch to, hey, there we have. So yeah. Okay, so turn down that for you. Okay, so also to the this is going to be an exciting week for spaceflight. We're gonna have I believe 3 more launches on September 12th. We're gonna have the HTV launch from for Japan and go to the ISS. Then on Friday or on Saturday we'll have the final Delta 2, which I will try to cover. I don't know if I don't know for sure. I'm planning on covering it because it's basically the last Delta 2, so it will be fun if I can cover it. And then on Sunday there's another launch, but I'm not really sure which rocket it was. And then next week we'll also have see the 100th flight of the Ariane 5, and there were 2 more flights. So it's going to be a busy few weeks for rockets. We have SpaceX, I think. Yeah. And I also found a really cool app which basically has AR and then a rocket launch, but oh, they're apparently live. So yeah, I tried to put that on AR, but it doesn't work. I tried to show it on my computer, but I will maybe try for the next Falcon to get it on, because it's really cool. It basically shows you the works. I don't know if it's working, but basically, as you can see, you have AR with the pad. So I'll try to get it working on my computer for next time. What happened with the B1042? That was the first Block 5, right? That flew a second time with, I can't remember which payload it was. There's so many rockets. I don't know the locations, but I believe it flew a second time, and then right now they're even preparing it for a third time. Yes, oh wait, I'm confusing it with the 48 one booster. The yes, I need to look that up. I don't know what happened with it. Probably got some parts taken out of it. According to it's the oh, that's the booster they're probably going to use for the in-flight abort from for the Falcon. The Dragon, I believe. It hasn't been reused, but it's the last Block 4 still in storage, so it's probably going to be the booster they use for in-flight abort, because the in-flight abort will abort at max Q, so they will actually, when the stress is at its highest on the rocket, they will pull the capsule away. So they're basically deploying the fairing, so the aerodynamic bit, they're basically pulling the aerodynamic bit off the front of the rocket. So there's a chance it gets destroyed, and if it's an old Block 4, it's not really that big of a deal. But if you do it with a Block 5, it might be a bit more expensive. That's what's probably gonna happen. What's probably gonna happen to B10. On the old paper, no. So the Delta 4, the Falcon Heavy, and these two Indians, so the GSLV Mark III and the Mark II, are paper, and this is the Saturn V, but then the from Lego. And I have a few more here. I have the Vega here still, and it won't be recovered. I'm not sure about that. If it survives if the booster survives the in-flight abort, they might to a return to launch site, but I don't think there's a use of recovering it. It might be more expensive to recover the in-flight abort booster than to just throw it away. Yes, there we go. We're live. 2, 1. Do we need to turn the sound up any higher or lower, higher? Tell me, because I can't use feedback. Beautiful views.
It is September 10th, just after 12:30 a.m. Eastern Daylight Time, and you are looking at a live view
I love
of the Falcon 9 rocket
the look
with
of
the Telstar
those
18 Vantage spacecraft
of those
on top,
boosters.
awaiting liftoff from Space Launch Complex 40 at Cape Canaveral Air Force Station in Florida. Good evening from SpaceX headquarters in Hawthorne, California.
Is my audio a little quiet or
the integration engineer, and I'll be your host for tonight's webcast.
The webcast.
Tonight we are launching the Telstar 18 Vantage spacecraft to a geostationary transfer orbit. Liftoff is planned for 12:45 a.m. Eastern Daylight Time, or 04:45 Universal Time. Coming up just some 12 minutes and 40 seconds from now. This will be SpaceX's 16th launch of this year, and today we will be flying a brand new Block 5 booster, which we will be attempting to land on our East Coast drone ship named, of course, I Still Love You.
This better? Maybe? Okay, yeah, better. I love the look of that, of the Block 5, the black interstage. I think I thought it was weird at first seeing it, but right now it looks
For today's mission, we're launching out of historic Space Launch Complex 40 at Cape Canaveral Air Force Station. This is one of SpaceX's 2 East Coast launch sites. On the pad, through a couple of drops of rain which have now left the area, you can see the 2-stage Falcon 9 vehicle, standing 70 meters tall, greater than the wingspan of a Boeing 747. The first stage is powered by 9 Merlin 1D engines, and they do the bulk of the work to carry Falcon 9 from the ground into the vacuum of space. First stage will separate about 67 kilometers up. Our second stage, which is visible on the webcast just above the black-colored interstage, has a single Merlin vacuum engine, which ignites after Stage 1 separates. The second stage is what will carry Telstar 18 Vantage to geostationary transfer orbit, or GTO. It will take 2 burns of the upper stage engine to do that. The spacecraft is currently sitting inside of the 17-foot diameter payload fairing on top of the second stage. You can see the fairing with the customer's decals on it.
Of the window,
about 30 seconds after ignition of the second stage,
we
will jettison the 2 fairing halves in the vacuum of space. Stage 2, still with Telstar 18V on top of it, will continue its journey into the first of 2 orbits planned for early this morning. Now, alongside the Falcon 9, slightly obscuring the view, is the truss structure. We call it the Transport Erector, or TE. That's what we use to roll the rocket out to the pad and support it in its vertical position, as you see on the screen now. The Transport Erector also provides power, data, and air conditioning connections to the Falcon 9 rocket. Today's mission is the 5th flight of our Block 5 vehicle design. Block 5 represents a series of upgrades to Falcon 9 designed to allow us to reuse each Falcon 9 10 times or more, as well as reduce the refurbishment time needed between flights.
The rocket has the quick throw. It used to just go really slowly away from it and then keep that position for throughout it actually the rocket passing it. But right now, as soon as it lifts off, it falls back all the way.
T-minus 9 minutes and 37 seconds and counting. And as I like to say on the webcast, the good news is the SpaceX and spacecraft teams are working no significant issues right now.
No issues.
On the Falcon 9 side, the team came on console at T-minus 2 hours, gave their goes for launch, and we began propellant loading at T-minus 35 minutes. Currently, the second stage fuel tank is completely loaded. Meanwhile, first stage fuel is going on board, and we are loading liquid oxygen onto both the first and second stages. The liquid oxygen loading will end between T-minus 3 minutes and T-minus 2 minutes before launch. On the spacecraft side, the team is go for launch. We just heard that they have completed transfer of the spacecraft from ground power to the onboard batteries. That finished up at T-minus 15 minutes. There's no further commanding planned of the spacecraft before launch. They're ready to go. On the range side, we're flying out of the Air Force's Eastern Range. They have the airspace and the ocean areas clear for launch right now. They've also been giving us weather forecasts, releasing weather balloons. We've obviously been delayed early this morning for weather. We've been delayed 77 minutes. We've had rain, lightning, and thick clouds, but the weather officer says that's all clearing out right now, so the weather looks good for an on-time launch 45 minutes after the hour. Now, the launch window was 4 hours long. We've now got 2 hours and 43 minutes left in it when we get to T0. There is the possibility, if we hold in the last minutes of the count, we could try again tonight. That, of course, depends upon what caused us to hold the countdown and whether we can resolve it quickly. But if we are able to, we might have enough time to load another batch of cold liquid oxygen onto the Falcon 9 and try again later in the window. So in summary, Falcon 9's looking good. The spacecraft team's on internal power. They're ready to fly. The range says we're clear, and the weather appears to be cooperating for launch just over 7.5 minutes from now.
Yes. Okay. So, as he said, they do have another opportunity if there is a need to delay the launch. Then they will drain all the fuels, put it down again, and then they will just refuel the rocket.
Today, SpaceX is launching Telstar 18 Vantage, a powerful new satellite in the Telesat fleet that will enable communication services on the ground, in the air, and at sea. Built for
I'll get back at it at 2 minutes. But basically what the rocket this satellite is really heavy, so it probably at the limits of the recoverability. So it will be more challenging one, but I'm confident they will pull it off. But as you can see, it's quite a big satellite. It's not the medium size. It's really a really large one. So it's going out to geostationary orbit. It's going to it's going to be shot into a transfer orbit. So its lowest point will be around 260 kilometers in height, and then the farthest point will be around 36,000 kilometers. And then the satellite will use its own engine to actually circularize the orbit to make it round, and then it will deploy its solar arrays, all its communication devices, and then it will start testing, and then eventually it will communicate. It will be stationed above New Zealand, I think, or at the height of New Zealand. If I am correct me if I'm wrong, but I thought it was above New Zealand.
Falcon 9 starting about 10 seconds after that. We'll hear the call out that the transporter erector is in position at about 88.2 degrees. Once we get to T0, the erector is hydraulically reclined away from the Falcon 9 to also about 77 degrees. Falcon 9 then clears the
this rocket doesn't. Right now they are not going to do a fairing recovery. That's only for the Californian launches. This launches from Cape Canaveral, so no fairing recovery.
Completely loaded on the first stage now. We're still loading liquid oxygen on the first and second stages. If we've got the pad mics up, you may be hearing the hiss and pop of pressure venting from the rocket, as well as the plumbing that's on the transporter erector. The white clouds you see around the rocket, that's the moist Florida atmosphere. It's condensing around the areas where the cold gaseous oxygen is vented overboard. We've also got gaseous oxygen venting from the base of the Falcon 9.
How far away are Russian, Chinese, and Indian reusable rockets? Well, actually, the Indians are working on their own version of a shuttle, and the Russians just revised the Baikal booster, which is basically one of was supposed to be one of the side boosters of the Energia rocket, but then they would put wings on it that deployed after they separated and coasted through the atmosphere. And then the nose cone came off, a jet engine was shown, and then it would fly back. And about the Chinese, I'm not sure. I know there's a startup company that is building or actually building a sort of Falcon 9 copy, but I'm not sure about the Chinese one. I know that Russia and India are working on something reusable.
Stage 1 logs are complete. Pogo bleed verification.
So the black part you see is actually in the stage. There's nothing inside except for the second stage engine, which is there is a pneumatic pusher which is activated after stage 2. So there are no explosive bolts. That's also something SpaceX does. They use no explosives in their rocket. Also, it's easier to use because there's nothing that actually breaks. So, but actually, there's a pusher inside of here, and it pushes the rocket, or actually the second stage with all its. And then over here between the fins, you have the RCS, which
Stage 2 lock slow complete.
Vacuum and then
Falcon 9's on internal power.
go down and shoot down.
Gas complete.
Go. 1 minute. Oh, actually, on this is not the correct name, but it will land on this, which is actually quite big. This is the same scale as the rocket I have. No, don't do this. Okay.
Falcon 9's in startup. Stage 2, press for flight.
Go for launch.
Stage 1's in startup pressures.
T-minus 15 seconds.
Falcon 9's configured for flight.
10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. Ignition. Liftoff.
Clear for pitching downrange.
Current telemetry are nominal.
47 seconds into flight, we just heard the tail end avionics call out nominal. Falcon 9 heading through the clouds at Cape Canaveral, powered on 1.7 million pounds of thrust. We're throttled down for passing through maximum dynamic pressure.
So this is the point where they reduce the stress and throttle down the engines.
Vehicle supersonic.
We're supersonic, heading out of the Earth's atmosphere.
Vehicle has reached maximum aerodynamic pressure.
And now the call out, we're through the area of maximum aerodynamic pressure. As we get into the thinner areas of Earth's atmosphere, the loads are now decreasing on the Falcon 9.
So you'll see the plume expand. That's due to the air pressure.
Now we're getting ready for chill-in of the upper stage engine. Similar to the first stage, we'll begin flowing liquid oxygen to the pumps. And we've heard the call out, MVAC-D chill-in has begun. Now coming up, just past 2.5 minutes into flight, the 9 Merlin 1D engines you see here from the ground camera will shut down. A few seconds later, the stage will separate, and then the upper stage engine will ignite to begin propelling the spacecraft to the first of 2 orbits for the evening. 2 minutes, 8 seconds into flight. Trajectory looks good. Merlin engine chamber pressures look good.
So what they do, what they use the chilling for is, if they wouldn't do that, they would have these large bubbles of
coming up
gas
on shutdown
in the fuel lines, and it will actually destroy your engine because it's so cold, and the metal has a cold
Miko.
Stage separation confirmed.
MVAC ignition.
And we've heard the call out, MVAC ignition. The chamber is up on power. Engines looking good on stage 2. Meanwhile, stage 1 is now coasting. You can just see the grid fins, the titanium grid fins on the first stage opening on the left view. First stage is now going to begin drifting down towards the drone ship. Meanwhile, we're coming up in 15 seconds on fairing separation.
No. Well,
Stage 2 on nominal trajectory.
There you go, fairing separation in 2 seconds. There we go.
Fairing separation confirmed.
And a nice view, and you can hear the applause from the folks outside Mission Control here at SpaceX headquarters in Hawthorne, California. The 2 fairing halves have separated in the vacuum of space. Now, as a reminder, on this flight, the fairings do not have recovery systems. We did not put parachutes in, so there's no plan to recover the fairings. We've heard acquisition of signal call out from Bermuda. That's our tracking site in Bermuda. Has the telemetry from the Falcon 9.
So
second stage continues to perform well. We're carrying Telstar 18 Vantage to the low Earth parking orbit. We should get into orbit about 8.5 minutes into flight.
So the reason,
Now currently, first stage continues to coast. It's arcing up to apogee and now beginning to descend down towards the drone ship. As a reminder, on this mission, it's a geostationary transfer orbit mission. There is no boost back burn to bring it back to Cape Canaveral for a land landing. This first stage recovery will use 2 burns to land on the drone ship in the Atlantic Ocean, currently parked about 635 kilometers offshore. This is the typical profile for a GTO mission.
So you will see in rapid succession.
5 minutes, 15 seconds into flight. The Merlin vacuum engine on stage 2 continues to look excellent. Trajectory is good, and we're waiting for entry burn of the first stage in less than a minute.
So in a rapid succession, you will see the landing burn start, then second stage shutdown, and then the landing. So we'll be a bit quick at the time, but stay tuned because you might miss. And also the reason or actually what I just wanted to say was that the reason...
Now we're coming up on T plus 6 minutes. Second stage continues to perform nominally. First stage is preparing for its entry burn coming up in about 17 seconds. This will be a 23-second burn. We light 3 engines on the first stage to begin slowing us down as we pass into the atmosphere.
So the HTV was delayed because there was a typhoon hitting a ground station downrange. So you can't track a rocket through
Stage 1 entry startup.
I love those flames when they...
You see ignition, the 3 Merlin engines at power, back illuminating those titanium grid fins.
Stage 1 entry shutdown.
And shutdown of stage 1. That completes the entry burn. Coming up at T plus 8 minutes, just shortly after that, we will get the landing burn of the first stage.
So it will land on the drain ship, but just...
7 minutes into flight, everything continues to go well on the second stage. Propulsion's good. Trajectory is good. We're about to go transonic on the first stage as it quickly enters the Earth's atmosphere.
Basically, this is going to a rocket like this, and this is 40.
Now, this time we should be going transonic on first stage. That puts us less than 60 seconds away from landing. Right now the vehicle is passing through 900 miles an hour. That'll give you an idea of the deceleration that's coming up in the span of less than a minute. Will reduce from over twice the speed of a jet all the way down to 0 as the rocket lands. There'll be many events coming up here very shortly. Landing burn and ignition. Second stage goes into orbit, and then the first stage lands. Let's listen and watch.
ASTS has saved.
Stage 1 landing startup.
We have single engine startup on the first stage for landing. We're getting views from the onboard camera.
Ooh, drone ship footage.
Back shutdown.
Stage 1 landing with deploy.
The suspense. Oh.
And we're waiting for confirmation on first stage on the drone ship.
Yay! Confirmed landing.
This is recovery. Falcon 9 has landed. All landing operators proceed to procedure 11.
We don't have a view, but we hear recovery calling out Falcon 9 has landed. Also, importantly, in the background just now, we had second stage engine shutdown on time. Guidance, navigation, and control engineer confirms we have a nominal orbit. That's the parking orbit, the first of 2 planned. So far, first stage looks good on the drone ship. Second stage is in the desired parking orbit. Now our next events are restart of the upper stage engine at T plus 26 minutes 17 seconds, and then deployment of Telstar 18V almost 6 minutes later. So right now I'm going to pause live commentary, but I'll be back in about 15.5 minutes at T plus 25 minutes 30 seconds, and we'll bring you the restart of the upper stage engine, followed by deployment of the Telstar 18V satellite.
Yes. Mute that. Okay, so yeah, another happy landing. Yes, finally. And yeah, now we have to wait till the till actually the second stage is in the right position, and then it will burn again and deliver the sunlight to its orbit. I'm not quite sure. Yeah. Happy it actually landed. It's flat, just warm. But yeah, so again, because it was on a small screen, this is the Lego Saturn V, then the rest is paper models. This is the GSLV Mark II, Mark III, Falcon Heavy, Delta IV Heavy. And yeah, yay, it landed. Yeah, I was gonna talk about something, but I can't remember what. And I see it's getting light outside. The sun has come up. The sun is awake. So actually why they do the as you heard throughout when the rocket was still on their first stage power, they set the second stage engine chill in, which basically they let the cold fuels flow into the turbo pumps, because if they don't, and they land a little bit of center but still within the big white circle. Yeah, I still call that a bullseye touchdown, because it's just this in the ocean, and then just to compare, you can just put one Falcon across it, and it it flies basically for probably 600-700 kilometers, and then touches down on just on this ship going around, floating up and down, and then rocking back and forth. So I think it's really special. Still, every landing is a great achievement. But actually, the chilling why they do it is if they don't and they would just open it up on ignition, they would have, first of all, the they have a chance that their fuel lines will crack, because the um, difference in temperature. Ooh, we have a new graph. I'm looking at this right now, which is pretty because it's it's a different graphic than they would use. So basically, as you see, they wait until they're off the coast of Africa, so they will go over part of Africa, and then like you have Africa goes like this. It has a sort of head and then its neck down there, and it will just go over the equator, and then it will burn. And as you can see, this is the trajectory it's going to take. Or actually, this is the parking orbit they're in right now. This will change when they ignite the engine. It will be like a sort of weird loop, because as they go further away, the Earth actually spins faster than they're going, so the orbit will it will look like they're going backwards. And there's a really funny thing you can do with orbital mechanics, and the Russians did it first. It's actually if you have a geostationary transfer orbit inclined at the right angle, you will actually make a figure 8 over the Earth. So Japan is using it for their own satellite navigation, because it means that when they are at their highest point, they are over Japan, and then their figure 8 takes them down over Australia, and then it goes back up again, and they have currently 4 satellites in that orbit, and they share the same actually that same orbit, and then they have constantly there's always one satellite right above Japan, which is really special if you think about it. That they can use orbital mechanics, and if you put a map up like this, you have a figure 8. So yeah, next launch, which I'm going to cover, is probably going to be the Delta 2. I'm not going to cover the HTV because it's at 1 a.m. I believe. I need to be at school at 8:40 in the morning, so yeah, I'm not going to do that. But it basically got delayed due to the tracking station in Guam being hit by a typhoon right now, and it was supposed to launch tonight, but right now it's the 12th of September, I believe. I have to check that. Let me check. Where is it? There's oh, it's a PSLV XL, which is also flying on Sunday, which I'll be happy to cover if anyone is interested. And then we'll have a few Chinese launches, and then on Tuesday we'll have the so not this Tuesday, but next Tuesday we'll have the Ariane 5 on its 100th flight. So yeah, Saturday we'll have the Delta 2, and then Sunday the PSV XL. And I don't see the HTV in here, but I'm not sure when it's gonna launch. So as you can see, they already traveled up to Africa, so it's really fast. I need that this minute. So actually, I also started on the new Indian shuttle rocket, and I already have the engine house installed. But I'm really looking forward to building it and flying it. Well, it's gonna take some time because I have these really small servos. They're 3.7 grams, and they're gonna control um, the shuttle. The flaps on the end. They're gonna control them. I need coffee too. I actually didn't plan on having it, but then it got delayed 2 hours, so I had time to make coffee. Ooh, don't drop it. But as you'll see, it's going over a part of Africa now, and then it's gonna cross the ocean again. And just before it again crosses the African continent, it will ignite its engine, because that's the part when it's going to cross the equator, and basically math, but it's most efficient to go into a geostationary transfer orbit when you're at above the equator, because that's the point where your inclined orbit crosses, or actually that's the point where it actually every time it crosses that point. So what they do is that's why they coast and go through Africa. But France Guiana, as you can see, it's above Brazil, and if you know where Brazil is, it's right, like you see the corner, you see the islands, and then South Africa, a bit more somewhere down. They have but they're at 6 degrees latitude, so they're just 6 degrees above the equator. Or actually, they're above the equator, but they don't really need to wait because they cross the equator mid-flight, so they just go on and burn to their eventual orbit. And that's why Arianespace has a advantage over every company that launches from the US, because they have a way better launch site. But is anyone interested in seeing me cover the PSLV launch on Sunday? It's going to be at 4:30 p.m. UTC, so it's going to be in the afternoon for me. Actually, it's going to be the evening for me, but yes, please. Okay, I will cover that. Fun. I'm looking forward to it. And basically, I finished this run. Oh, I can show you that. Okay, let me get it. While we just wait for another few minutes. It's not that small either. It looks really small in the background, but it's not. I'm not going back yet. So quick! So this is the Delta IV Heavy. Look how big it is. But what I did was I installed some magnets, and right now this is what happens. It just snaps into place, and I think this is really satisfying because I don't have to worry about stages falling off again, and it basically is the second stage of the Delta IV snapping into place with magnets. And I did the same with the fairing. So yeah, Delta IV Heavy out of the business end. Now I need to put it somewhere. Yeah, there we go. Now there's one rocket less. Whoa, it disappeared. It flew off. So yeah, we should be coming up on second stage start in a few minutes. I'm messing this up. Where does it go? Oh no, it's already there. Oh yeah, I'm just gonna unmute it.
Welcome back. We're at T plus 25 minutes, 33 seconds since launch. Second stage has been coasting as it left the east coast of the U.S. It's now over Africa, crossing the equator, where we're going to complete the coast phase and reignite the second stage engine. This will happen in about 20 seconds. We plan on a 44-second burn to carry Telstar 18V from low Earth parking orbit to GTO.
We should have ignition in a few seconds. And also, right now it's in
the engine's in startup.
In 28 degrees inclined orbit, and it will probably adjust that to 19.
And back ignition.
Even lower, maybe.
We've heard the call out ignition. We're good power. Engine's in closed loop. This is a 44-second burn, as I said. Right now, we're running about 7.4 kilometers per second. This burn will increase the velocity of Stage 2 carrying Telstar 18V to about 9.3 kilometers per second, transferring it to geostationary transfer orbit.
As you see, the orbit is
We're
curving
now
up
throttling
a little,
down to limit G's on the spacecraft.
so that they also are changing the inclination of the orbit slightly. And that's to
Back shutdown.
help the satellite.
We've heard the call out for shutdown.
I'll wait for...
Waiting for guidance to tell us how the orbit looks. Now, I've not heard the guidance engineer call out, but looking at data, the trajectory looks good.
Nominal orbital
So
insertion.
second stage has delivered Telstar 18V to a good orbit. We're in geostationary transfer orbit. Now, the next item on the primary mission agenda is deployment of the spacecraft itself. That's about 5 minutes from now. Now, we're going to continue to show you live views of the second stage, and I think we've got a view of the first stage on the drone ship out in the Atlantic Ocean.
Ooh.
There it is on the left of your screen, the first stage on drone ship. Of course, I still love you. So we're going to pause live commentary for the moment. We'll be back to show the release of Telstar 18V in geostationary transfer orbit, coming back at about T plus 31 minutes and 30 seconds, or about 3 minutes from now.
So basically what they do with the first stage after it lands is they will depressurize their tanks to so it doesn't explode or have so it isn't pressurized anymore, so they'll depressurize it, and I think they'll save any kerosene left in the tank. They'll just save it, and they probably just vent all the oxygen, and then they connect it to umbilicals and probably discharge the batteries and save it, and then once it's on land again, they'll disconnect everything, fold up the legs, and then put it somewhere in storage until it's launched again. So as you can see, there's a little bit of a curve where the burn happened, so they adjusted the inclination slightly. So instead of 28 degrees, it's probably around 25, 24, 20. So as you can see, the ring around the engine is actually, as you saw, the engine glowed quite a lot. That's because the extension, there's no cooling in the extension. It's basically just the same as a what was it? It's just an extent. I don't think it's cooled. And actually the ring you see is from the turbine exhaust that's injected into the engine, because and that's what they call film cooling, to keep the outside of the nozzle cooler. And because the exhaust of the turbine is just a few hundred degrees, so instead of the few thousand degrees of burning of the fuel itself.
John Innsbrucker back at the SpaceX webcast desk in Hawthorne, California. The final event coming up, spacecraft deployment. It just passed 32 minutes into flight. Nice views from the second stage as we're on the daylight side of the Earth, passing over Africa, and you can see the altitude quickly increasing following that second burn of the upper stage engine. So now we're going to wait for the camera to switch forward and look for Telstar spacecraft separation.
Separation, yay.
Spacecraft separation confirmed.
And we've got nice views of the Telstar 18V separating. A great launch and deployment, and that's going to bring an end to our webcast. First stage liftoff. We had to wait about 77 minutes for the weather, but went right at T0 at the time that we replanned to. First stage landed successfully on the drone ship out in the Atlantic Ocean. Second stage performed 2 great burns, putting the Telstar satellite and the second stage.
So yeah, that was a successful launch again. Thanks for watching. Bye bye, Telstar. Yeah, that's gonna do its own thing. So yeah, oh, I have this itch in my ear. It's annoying. So yeah, yeah. Thank you for watching, and like, subscribe, share, and be ready for the weekend double header of 2 launches, not 1 but 2. One on Friday, one on one on Saturday, one on Sunday. So yeah, thank you for watching. And again, like, subscribe, share, and see you next time. This is me. This is Arco at Astra. To the stars.